Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Evening, gang. Welcome to another episode of the Welch Review. We are excited to be here, excited to talk to you about some new movies. So today we're talking about Edgar Wright's new film, Last Night in Soho. This film stars Thomasin McKenzie as Eloise, and you may have seen Thomasin in Leave No Trace, Jojo Rabbit, and Old, which is a film we actually talked about a couple months ago. So if you haven't seen that one, definitely check out that review. It also has Michael Ajao. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, Michael. He plays a character named John, and you may have seen him in Attack the Block, 5 by 5, or Silent Witness. And then you have Sinove Carlson as Jocasta. Miss Carlson, again, I'm sorry if I butchered that first name of yours. And she was seen in Medici, Click, and Dead Birds. This is my first time seeing her in a movie or a TV show or any sort of role, but we'll talk about that a little bit down the road as far as acting goes in this. Then you have the great Terrence Stamp. It's so good seeing Terrence Stamp do things, man. And he plays a silver-haired gentleman, and I won't ruin anything about... We'll just stop talking about him. But you might recognize Mr. Stamp from The Limey, Superman 2, where he played General Zod, and Star Wars Episode 1. And then you have Anya TaylorJoy as Sandy, and most recently she was in The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, The New Mutants, and Split, which is interesting. Like Joy and Thomasin, right? Thomasin was in Old, Anya TaylorJoy was in Split. Both are M. Night Shyamalan films, so they have that in common, which is pretty cool. Then you have Matt Smith playing Jack, and if you Doctor Who fans know, he was the Doctor. He's in the film Morbius that's coming out with Jared Leto. And then you have Dianna Rigg as Miss Collins, and Dianna Rigg was in the James Bond film On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where she played James Bond's wife, which is super dope. Like, I was really stoked when I found that out. And that's like, how do you say this? It's not like the greatest Bond movie, but it is a good Bond movie because it's like one of the few ones where Bond is like actually really in love with someone, right? They're more to him than just a one-night fling. And I don't know, it's nice knowing your heroes, go through love and loss too. I don't know, there's something connectability to that, which is pretty dope. But it was really sad. But it was cool that she's doing stuff. I also didn't realize that she was in Game of Thrones, right? She played Natalie. God, she was the flower lady. She was the grandma of the flower woman, right? Like they had all that money. I'm so sorry, I don't remember her character's name, but she was in that. So that's really cool seeing her in this too. And then she was in Breathe, which had Andrew Garfield in it. So really well-rounded actress. And then if you blink, right, you have a quick cameo of Sam Claflin. He plays a gentleman at the bar. But really, quick blink and you'll miss him. And you might recognize Sam from The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Adrift, and Me Before You. And as I said, this is a film by Edgar Wright. It's also written by Edgar Wright. And previously, he made the film Baby Driver, Shaun of the Dead, and The World's End. Now, that's a pretty well-rounded cast and definitely a really talented director and writer behind the camera. It's definitely cool seeing him dip his toe in all these various genres, especially this one, right? I know Shaun of the Dead is a horror comedy, but outside of that, Edgar Wright hasn't really made I would say, completely serious movie, right? Baby Driver, certainly, crime film. There are humorous elements to it, but this movie is definitely more of a thriller, right? And less humor to it. And basically the plot is this young girl, Eloise, seems to live in the English countryside with her grandmother. She's had some personal tragedy as her mom had committed suicide, so her family is healing, and her grandma wants to protect her, make sure she has everything she needs and wants, but also doesn't go through any pain, which, I think everybody has a family member who, they look to kind of protect and guide them. Eloise has big dreams. She wants to be a fashion designer, which it turns out was also her mom's dream. So she's since applied to fashion school, which is in the big city. Now, the thing about the big city is, while it's wonderful and beautiful, right, there's all that, sometimes that grimy undertone, right, that no one really touches on, right, or like, really blows up because everyone's so focused on like, oh, the lights and, the action and what everyone's doing, what the happening. And the grandma, you can see, kind of sees this, while Eloise is just thinking about like, the grandness of it all. Right, so Eloise goes to college, and coming from a small community, transitioning to this big one, she off the bat realizes that there are going to be, it's going to be different, right? Like she gets in a cab, the cab driver is clearly a creep and is trying to like pick her up. She gets to her dorm, and this brings us to Jocasta, right, Miss Sinove Carlson, and off the bat. She's kind of hesitant to really bark, where these girls who are from the city or come from money will bite, right? And like they kind of in a way bully her, push her around, say really messed up stuff. And she just kind of goes with it, like to kind of get along until she realizes she can get her own place, which is what she ultimately does. And, and while doing that, getting her own place, she realizes that this new room she's renting somehow can transport her to the late 50s, early 60s London, and which is the music that she loves to listen to. So it's something she already kind of has ties to. So it transports her there, and that's where she kind of meets this woman, Sandy, and she kind of follows her life and what happens to her. And I guess there might be some spoilers in that description, so I will pause there without going further. I hope you do check it out. Hopefully I've done a decent job describing that to make you want to watch it. But then let's talk about acting. So in talking about our main character, Thomasin McKenzie, right, Eloise, I think she does a really great job portraying this young woman who has big dreams, right, and she's driven. But the navigating it socially is hard, right? Especially if people are competing for things. And I don't really know much about the fashion industry, but it seems that at least in this movie, or maybe like in anything, right? You're not the only one with that dream. And instead of building with people, people often are prone to compete and to try and get ahead or get a leg on top of people. And you certainly see that. And she conveys a lot with her eyes, right? Her body language, even though her character isn't saying much. And I think that's a really good skill, right? Especially, sometimes it doesn't need a line. You can just say something with your face. And, being able to do that, I think, is going to serve her really well in the future. There are also a wide range of emotions, right? Eloise is not a flat character. So when you see her happy, she's really happy. You see her sad or scared, she does that very well, like on a dime, being able to switch in and out of that, which is also impressive. Jocasta, that character who bullies her, played by Miss Carlson, she plays a really good bully. I don't know if that's particularly hard to just be a jerk. I'm sure, I don't want to say, I'm sure she had fun doing it because she's probably a very lovely person in real life. But it's kind of horrifying, the whole idea of bullying, especially knowing what Eloise has gone through. And Jocasta does know what she's gone through with her mom. But she really just plays a really terrible person very well. It's very believable, When I would watch movies that had characters like this, it'd be like, Dad, I hate that, that person. And my dad would say, well, that's how they're doing their job right? Because you're not supposed to like them. And he's right, and it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around it, like, oh, that's what they're paid to do, is for you not to like them, right? So if you do like them and they're being completely awful, that might be an issue. But if you don't like them, that means they're getting their job across. And she certainly does. It's fantastic to see Terrence Stamp in more things. I think he's a criminally underrated actor. He's certainly been in some big things in the past, playing Zod, being in Star Wars. In The Limey with Steven Soderbergh, I thought that was an amazing movie that he was in. So it was nice seeing him in there. So whenever Terrence Stamp is on screen, he's got a bravado to him. It's like a silent storm, right? He might not say a lot, but when he does, you pay attention. And he still got it. So I hope Terrence Stamp makes more movies and people put him in more movies because he's just great. And looking at Matt Smith plays a real streetwise, crooner, ladies' man type guy. I never saw Doctor Who, but he was a very cunning and decisive villain in this. So I think he plays the bad guy Morbius. So it seems villain roles might be something he's more into. But he did a very good job. Again, I don't have a lot of movies to reference him from seeing, but he was very cunning. Very believable in how he manipulated Sandy, so I guess manipulative would work in there too. And you believed that he cared for her, and that he wanted her dreams to come true and not just to be dreams anymore. And that's really dangerous, when you have somebody who you think believes in you and then they don't. And him being able to convey that is powerful, And then Anya TaylorJoy is just banging them out left and right? Hit after hit after hit. She's just doing great performances. Big things are definitely in store for her in the future, but I think coming off of New Mutants, that wasn't like the best movie. Had nothing. She was the best part of it, but having something like this, again, constantly different genres, I think that's only going to help flesh out her career. So I expect to see plenty more, starring vehicles and things with her in that. But I think everyone has a little bit of Sandy in them, where we all have dreams we want to achieve, and sometimes you feel like things might be too good to be true, and she's definitely got those stars in her eyes. And I think as a viewer, whatever your dream is, you have a star in your eye for it. She does a great job expressing that on camera. And then in terms of Dianna Rigg as Miss Collins, right? Our Bond girl. She does a really good job. I feel like I can't say a lot about her. That's probably saying too much. But when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And, didn't see it coming. We'll just say that. Too much already, and I apologize, but she's tremendous. In terms, Edgar Wright, I think, did a really great job utilizing London. And the scenes, the style and angles he chose, I thought were fantastic, especially how it transforms from the past to the future and keying up images of what those buildings look like now, and seeing characters from the past walk in them and new one, present time walk out. Just how he plays with that imagery, right, is fantastic and really awesome. So I think he's just up in his arsenal every film. So all the way around, Last Night in Soho is a really good movie. It has a killer soundtrack, killer performances, and everyone's just on top of their game. If you haven't seen it, definitely worth a watch, because it's something I think people will be talking about for quite some time. Well, that will conclude our review of Last Night in Soho. I appreciate you stopping by, and stay gold, true believers. We'll see you next time.